Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
They showed up at Artur's house many days later to hand him just a pile of tickets. So the tickets are very disconnected from the actual incident. That's not necessarily bad faith, but another kind of step of, we're showing up at your house, we're showing intimidation, we're giving you these tickets. So the two things combined really make you think, what is Calgary Police Service doing with Artur Pawlowski here? Artur feels very passionately about needing to be out there in the community, needing to support these people who have nowhere else to turn. If he's not there, he is really concerned about these people, and his conscience can't bear not going out to feed those people. The plus side of that is we do have good people working in the system. And so once I raised this with the Crown prosecutor, they did discontinue and withdraw the mask bylaw tickets. So at least those tickets are now off the table. The rest, we are just getting disclosure, starting to get disclosure today.
We've got another Fight the Fines success story. Pastor Art Paloski has had even more tickets thrown out of court. Remember Pastor Art Paloski? He's the Calgary area pastor who regularly ministers to and feeds the homeless. But he's received thousands upon thousands of dollars in lockdown tickets for doing it. He's received tickets for so-called illegal gatherings. When his so-called illegal gatherings, well, that's just him feeding the homeless in downtown Calgary on a frozen winter morning. Pastor Art's received tickets for not wearing a mask, even though it's not required to wear a mask when someone is doing what Pastor Art does outside. Now at Rebel News, with the help and support of our viewers and donors like you at home, we've been helping Pastor Art Pawlowski from the very beginning of the pandemic through fightthefines.com. We've already helped Pastor Art fight some of his lockdown tickets successfully with the help of Sarah Miller. She's a top-notch lawyer from JSS Barristers in Calgary. So we've had some tickets thrown out that were issued earlier in the pandemic, but that has not stopped the vindictive city of Calgary and the Calgary City Police, and of course bylaw enforcement, from continuing to show up every single week to write Pastor Art more tickets. Now, I'm pleased to announce that we've had even more tickets that were issued to Pastor Art, and now his brother David thrown out of court again. Art's lawyer, Sarah Miller, joined me in an interview we recorded earlier in the week to update us on Art's growing lockdown file and what comes next. Take a listen.
We had some really great news with Artur and his brother David. They have a number of tickets now that the police have slapped on them for feeding food 3 times a week to homeless and the vulnerable there in downtown Calgary. Part of those tickets, 2 tickets, they each got one. Artur got one and David got one, and they were for not masking. And the law in Calgary, the bylaw in Calgary says, well, you need to mask if you're in an indoor public place, right? So if I go into a mall or into Home Depot or into a grocery store, you're supposed to mask up, subject to the exceptions. But all of these events and tickets and the dates were all dates that they were outside at Olympic Oval, where hundreds of people are always not masked, skating, doing things, doing their downtown activities. So the masking tickets were something that was really bizarre and seems like an inappropriate use of resources, right? Whether the police were doing this purposefully or not. This is the same gentleman from all of your videos where there's a big beefy police officer pushing one of Artur's friends away, saying stay 6 feet apart, and then steps up to him again, right? So the police are familiar with Artur. They know who he is. They know he's going to be there 3 times a week handing out food. It's hard not to kind of anticipate the worst from them at this point when they're handing out failing to mask tickets in an outdoor public place. The difficulty was they didn't give any of these tickets to Artur and his brother while they were actually handing out food. They showed up at Artur's house many days later to hand him just a pile of tickets. So the tickets are very disconnected from the actual incident. That's not necessarily bad faith, but another kind of step of, we're showing up at your house, we're showing intimidation, we're giving you these tickets. So the two things combined really make you think, what is Calgary Police Service doing with Artur Pawlowski here? The plus side of that is we do have good people working in the system, and so once I raised this with the Crown prosecutor, they did discontinue and withdraw the mask bylaw tickets. So at least those tickets are now off the table. The rest, we are just getting disclosure, starting to get disclosure today. Is the first day that I can send somebody over by courier and pick up disclosure from tickets that arise from early December. So disclosure has been very slow, but today we're gonna have some disclosure. Next court date is March 16th. And that's for the city bylaw tickets. The public health tickets that were issued at the same time, we have no disclosure, have adjourned those tickets a few times, both for Artur and David. Continue to push the Crown prosecutor on those ones and hope that we can get to some resolution once we have disclosure.
Sarah, I don't think people really understand the enormity of the amount of fines that Artur and his brother are facing. Can you give us, like a ballpark figure here?
Yeah, so it's hard to give an actual number figure because so many of the tickets now are just being flagged as no fine option, which means you have to go into court and you have to respond to them in some way. So there's thousands of dollars of tickets. I couldn't give an exact number because some of them aren't identified as a pay option. And I think he's still got about 12 tickets between bylaw and public health that are currently outstanding. And that's new tickets since the last set of tickets that he had that we already dealt with and successfully. So it's a lot for one individual who's running a church organization to manage. They've also ticketed his brother now for being associated to him and helping him. So this is more than Artur. This is now his family, and his brother has $1,500 or nearly $2,000 worth of tickets himself outstanding still. So between the two of them, it's getting to be quite substantial.
Now, what do you think is really going on here? I know I'm asking you to speculate, and that's not normally what lawyers like to do, but why do you think they're just hammering Pastor Art with all these tickets?
So this is not new for Artur. He has taken on the city and bylaws before. He had a different location that he used to hand out food and didn't have a permit for it, or I wasn't involved then, so I'm kind of paraphrasing here. And they did the same type of approach: ticket every week, multiple tickets, any bylaw that they could find. Oh, you stood on the sidewalk, there's a bylaw ticket. Oh, you didn't put up a sign, or you did put up a sign, bylaw ticket. So this is a method that I think from their perspective is a way that they think that they can pressure him to comply with the public health order, not to come out and serve food. The conflict that we have is Artur feels very passionately about needing to be out there in the community, needing to support these people who have nowhere else to turn. If he's not there, he is really concerned about these people, and his conscience can't bear not going out to feed those people. So the police service, I think, and the public health people who might be talking to them probably think, well, if we ticket him, then he'll understand that this is improper and wrong and contrary to our rule of law and the written letter. But it's more nuanced than that, and Artur feels very strongly that it's improper. It's definitely going to put people at risk if he capitulates to mass ticketing and say, okay, well, fine, I give up. I'll sit at home with everybody else safely while people who rely on me and then people that I care about are out there hungry and cold and even more isolated than the rest of us are during COVID. So I think it's a bullying tactic to try and force compliance with a public health order. the soup kitchens have had, mustard seed, some of the more mainstream ones, from my understanding, from what I've been able to ascertain, have exemptions. Calgary Flames has exemptions. Farm and agriculture has exemptions. If you go onto the Government of Alberta's website and look at the public health orders and the exemptions that are issued, there are tons of exemptions. So it makes sense that Artur would fall into a soup kitchen type of exemption. And it's like his understanding and argument that he should be exempted. But the city of Calgary has taken the position of, well, even if you could fall into one of these exemptions, we've now revoked your permit to use the park. And so now they're ticketing him on the basis of, you don't have a permit to use the park, and you don't have a permit to put up a sign, and you don't have a permit to hand out food from the city, rather than the public health angle, which is, as we're seeing more and more exemptions, the more likelihood that we're going to have vaccinations rolling out. As we go into spring and summer, we're of course probably going to see a relaxation of restrictions. So instead of focusing on, well, you're not physically distancing, because Artur figured that out and had physical distancing in place. Oh, you're not wearing a mask. Well, guess what? There is no law to wear a mask outside, right? So they're figuring it out that, okay, well, how do we pressure this guy not to hand out food to the homeless? Well, this is how. You revoke his permit and you start ticketing him for going there without a permit, and going there and putting up signs without a permit, and using, public facilities without the government's permission.
The city of Calgary is probably going to continue to issue tickets to Pastor Art and his brother David for the crime of taking care of the least of our brothers. That much is clear. But we're going to do absolutely everything we can to help Art and David fight every single one of these tickets in court with the help of Sarah Miller, who is, as you've seen, absolutely terrific, and she cares deeply about religious freedom and our charter rights. But we can't do any of this without the help and support of people like you at home. I want to thank each and every one of you sincerely for all that you've done to get us this far, to this second victory with Pastor Art Paloski. But there is so much more work to do left ahead of us. If you can help crowdfund Art's legal costs and his brother's legal costs, but not just their legal costs, but the hundreds and hundreds of people all across this country who have received lockdown tickets and have sent them to us at fightthefines.com. You can donate at the website I just mentioned, fightthefines.com. And if you'd like to see some of our successes and some of our other fights for freedom in the time of the coronavirus, you can do that too at that same special website, fightthefines.com. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. If you're like Pastor Art and you've received a lockdown ticket for just doing what you normally do, we don't want you to pay it. We want you to fight it. We want to fight civil liberties by fighting one lockdown ticket at a time. Send us your ticket at fightthefines.com and we will put you in touch with a top litigation specialist to help you fight your ticket at no cost to you.